Okay, so let's talk about my 5 tips for following your gut, not your fear, for knowing you're making a healthy, good decision that's in full alignment with where your brain should be and where your spiritual life is. Okay, this is how you do it. So tip number 1 is, and this is again probably each one is kind of the biggest, but for sure you have to do this no matter what. When you're thinking about any issue, you must get yourself to a good feeling place first. Some people think, oh, once I make this decision, I'll feel better. So I'm just going to push through the anxiety. You're not, I'm telling you the truth because you've tried that. And then you just keep questioning that decision and you make yourself crazier. No, the key is to get into a good feeling place first. You cannot make a healthy, rational decision when you're consumed with fear. You can't do it. That part of your brain won't light up. It's not like you can't because you can't. It's you can't because your brain don't work that way. That's why I'm telling you your brain chemistry. This isn't some spiritual woo shit. This is real stuff. So when your brain is hijacked by the amygdala, by all that fear, your rational thinking brain can't come online. It's not there. It can't come on. And that's why you either fight, flee, or freeze. That, you get into that sort of reptile brain of what you end up doing. It doesn't work. So you need to get into a good feeling place first. You might need to meditate and make it a practice of meditating would really make me happy. I have a whole episode on how to learn to meditate. 15 minutes a day is all you need. I have a course. If you want to buy it, you don't need to, but it's how to meditate for 15 minutes in 15 days. So you can learn how to do 15 minutes of meditation in 15 days. Take my little course. It's pretty cheap. It's very inexpensive. Or again, there's tons of free apps. Please, there's so many ways these days. You might need to listen to an inspiring or calming visualization. I would highly, highly recommend that you check out. It's on YouTube for free. You don't have to put in your email or anything. I have a loving kindness meditation. From the research, we know that these work. So try that. Listen to that a few times a week. Get yourself into a good place, or at least listen to that before you're going to go have this, important conversation with someone, or before you're going to sit and figure out what you want to do about your career or something else. Do that first. Speak to your therapist or a supportive friend, not the friend with 90 opinions. I want the friend that asks you lots of questions about what you're thinking, asks you helpful things to help you brainstorm and guide, is not talking to you from fear. Or again, a therapist. You can make a gratitude list first. You can think of one thing you really appreciate and get yourself into that state. You can take a walk in nature if that calms you down. You know me, I'm the city girl. Freaks me out to be in nature, but some of y'all love it. And the research says you should. So do you see where I'm going here though? The point is that you cannot make a healthy decision from your thinking brain when you're emotional, when your fear brain is running the show. Not because it's spiritual woo, although I love that too, but because your brain can't work that way. It's always one or the other that's in charge. And again, while these two parts of your brain are connected, one is always more dominant. So again, which one are you sort of feeding, right? Which one are you focusing on? So start with my loving kindness meditation. Freest, easiest way to do it. Get yourself in a good place and then approach. And then do number 2. Do tip number 2. How's that? I didn't even think of these these aren't in order, but I would say doing tip 1 and now tip 2 would be fabulous. Okay. Tip number 2 is not to make people make pros and cons lists a lot when they're trying to make a right or healthy decision. But for me, these can be a very bad idea because they're misleading. I've had more clients get into trouble with a pros and cons list than anything. And I'll tell you what to do instead in a second. But if you're deciding whether to, let's say, end a relationship, you might have 50 things on the pro side, but the 1 or 2 things on the con side might be the deal breakers. Instead of a pros and cons list, make a beliefs list. What are your beliefs about leaving this relationship or this job? I'm just thinking of another client I have who's worrying about leaving a job. They might be fear-based issues, right? I'm wanting too much from one person, or I'm wanting too much from this job, or I'll never find another relationship. I'll never find another job. So those things are often similar. Or this is really good enough. I need to lower my standards. I'm acting crazy. Like I don't need those things. And when you look at a beliefs list, you'll have a much better idea of why you're making the choice you are. You'll be better able to identify what's coming from fear and what's coming from rational, what's coming from the emotional side of your brain and what's coming from the rational side of your brain. And that's why a beliefs list is so much better. So when you look through that list, are your beliefs, here are my beliefs if I leave this person or this job or I choose this college. Here are my beliefs. And you'll see when you write them, I'm going to regret it later, that there was actually a better school I should have chosen, that this person's going to find someone better than me. They're going to get in a relationship right away and I'm going to be sad and lonely, And when you look at that list, you realize how fear-based it is. Oh my God. There's nothing on there like, this opens me up for meeting the best person ever, like a person who has all the other person's positives and more. So look at the beliefs and you can start to see, wow, that my amygdala, my fear-based brain is driving my decisions. And that's not your gut. And that's not a right decision for you. You never make decisions out of fear. They're never the right ones for you long-term. Okay? They're just not. Tip number 3, feeling scared doesn't mean it's a wrong decision. Because I get this. People say, well, but I'm afraid. There's a Buddhist nun, Pema Chodron, who's really famous. If you haven't read her stuff, I highly recommend it. And she has this beautiful quote, and I apologize, Pema, if you're listening, if I get it wrong, but it's something like, fear is a natural reaction to moving closer to the truth. It's so good. Fear is a natural reaction to when you're moving closer to the truth. So I always tell people, it's almost impossible to keep your negative thoughts completely at bay. I don't know I don't think the Dalai Lama's negative thoughts are completely at bay. I don't think it's possible. But being scared is no reason to change your mind. That's your anxiety lying to you. If you feel paralyzed, indecisive, that's fear. That's your anxiety lying to you. So what I find most commonly is the real issue is keeping your boundaries after you've made a decision. It's when you indulge in fearful thoughts after you've made the change or after you've made a decision. Because you start now, I'm in this calm place, I've made this thing, but now I implement it or I've sat with it for a moment. I've left Abby's off, Zoom room. And now all these other things, people's opinions, my negative thoughts, my beliefs, those scary fear-based beliefs are all rushing to the fore. And I will tell you that once you do change something or tell someone of your intentions, other people will push back at the new boundary you made. Or you see your ex happy in a new relationship and now you're questioning your choice. I never should have left her. I should have stayed with her. What was I thinking? I know, because you guys talk to me all the time. I know, I see it. So a little fear, notice the difference. A little, because again, you're going to dispute it. You're going to come in with your rational brain and you're going to dispute it. And you're going to do tip number 4, which is what you want to do is really reframe this idea that you can even make a wrong decision. Okay, don't start screaming. Let me finish. Of course I can make wrong decisions. I've made tons of wrong decisions. No. Stay with me. When you make a decision that you later think is right, it's because it moved you closer to what you wanted, right? Isn't that the definition? I made a decision and that decision, now I got a great job because I made this right decision about school. I made this decision to lose weight and now I've lost weight and now I feel so good and my self-esteem is improved, right? You're like, that was the right decision because I'm closer to something that I wanted. But I need you to reframe a decision that feels wrong because it hasn't, right? A decision feels wrong only because it hasn't brought you closer to what you want. That's when you decide that was a bad decision I made. Because here I am today, single, I shouldn't have broken up with that guy. Here I am today in a job that doesn't make enough money, I should have chosen a different career in a different major in college, right? You're not closer to something you want now. So that I want you to see that instead as a decision that's now given you more clarity. That's a decision. You made that decision and now you have more clarity. The biggest issue happens really, I find, is that people don't really know what they want and they're not thinking of what they want. They're thinking of one in a big picture. They're thinking what they want right now. So this is actually really recent. I'm working with a lovely woman who's an executive at a large multinational company. And, she's been climbing the ladder and making more money and taking more responsibility and doing the next thing and doing the next thing. And yet she really wants to have a family and there's other things she wants. And I said to her, a lot of times we just keep going because we think it's societal. Well, of course you're supposed to want more. Of course you're supposed to get to the next rung of the ladder. That's the whole point. Of course you're supposed to reach for the top of whatever this is. And I think that's crazy talk. You need to really think about, what is it that I really want? What's the most important thing to me? Is it to have a family? Is it, like I changed my life very drastically when I realized I wanted to be home with my kids more. I didn't know that though. It doesn't mean I was making wrong decisions before them. It means I brought decisions that brought me more clarity. And remember, a lot of times when we make a decision, we don't have all the information that we have later. Things change, people change, we change. So something that we thought we wanted when we were 20 isn't necessarily something we wanted when we're 30. So I need you to, again, we're getting more clarity. And this decision I made into a career that I don't like is giving me clarity about what I do want in a career. The things I thought I wanted, I don't. And again, and this relates to tip number 5, all of these sort of roll into each other. You have to stop thinking you can see the future. Oh my God, all of you. You can't regret a decision because you're actually telling yourself lies about it and you don't realize you're doing it. I know, because I talk to you all the time. You think things like, oh, I should have stayed in that relationship because I would have been happier. Or I should have gone to school for software engineering instead of psychology because I would have been happier. I would have made a lot more money. But you don't know this is true. Oh my God, the crazy lies you tell yourself. You might have gone to school for software engineering and made more money, but you also might have developed and thought that was going to make you happier, and it didn't. And then because you were so unhappy, you developed a drinking problem because you hated your work so much, but felt trapped in it because you thought money was so important. And then you might have driven home drunk from a pub or a bar and gotten into a car accident and killed someone. And you might be in jail right now. Do you see what you don't know? You just think it's so crazy that we think we can predict the future, that we think if I had made this decision, this is exactly how my life would have unfolded to this point. What kind of, you're so full of shit. You are so full of bullshit and you don't even know it. I'm yelling at you. I'm on my little soapbox, when I get sassy, when I get spicy and I start to swear, but I don't care. What the fuck? You might have met someone in one of your software engineering classes and gotten into an abusive relationship with that person. You don't know. Maybe you would have met some crazy narcissist who looked amazing. You don't know. You just have these ideas of what you think you'd known if you had done this other thing. If you stayed in that relationship, you're now regretting leaving, that one, it might have turned violent. Or it likely, by the way, because I've been doing this for 40 damn years, or almost, sorry, didn't mean to exaggerate. It's 39 years. It likely would have gotten worse and you'd be depressed and anxious now, wishing you'd left years before when you were cuter and younger and felt like you had more prospects. I know, because I talk to you guys all the time. I hear it all the time. Do the thing that's right. You will know your next step from this step. These aren't mistakes. There's learning and understanding yourself better. There's growth. There's opening your mind. There's really knowing what you want. And every time you make a decision, you get clearer about what you want and what brings you joy. So there are no wrong and right decisions because this is the best decision right now. Of course, with hindsight, you might think it wasn't, but you were doing the best you could with the tools you had at that time. You made the decision and you have to trust that. And now you have different tools and are making different decisions for your now and your future, right? This is where you got to get. But this idea that there's one right, grand decision isn't true. It's just not true. There's our best, even things you made from such a heart place, from such a good place in the moment, can later, because of circumstances or how things change and move, be, something that you now think is a wrong decision. Everything's figure outable on some level. You can figure something out. But if you're trying to decide from a fear brain of panic, of overwhelm, of frustration, of hopelessness, of helplessness, like I said before, you're not going to make a good decision. You're not going to make from your gut the right decision. So use your brain. Truly make sure that those decisions are when that spirituality, not emotionality, not your emotional brain, but your spiritual, knowing, clear, seeing the world brain from a perspective, from calm, from love, from clarity. That brain, when that meets your frontal cortex, your prefrontal cortex, when that meets your thinking, logical brain, beautiful things happen.